we go again. All right. Yeah. Tyre Nickols, right? Condolences to his family, even though they'll probably never see this video. His mother, when they was talking about what the cops did to him, his mother was, she just couldn't stand there straight, like, and just hear what they did to, Tyre, who was a very, he was thin. I think they said he had Crohn's disease. That's what I heard from another YouTuber. So he was thin. But I watched the video, and, I just want to say that, the cops beat me up when I was like 28 or something like that. A black cop. This is a black cop. Cracked my skull. Said, so what? Broke my finger, bruised my ribs. He didn't care. So when I saw this, I was just like, yeah, this is nothing new to me. But the way they beat him up. Now, for one, I want to say this. For one, he was going home. They didn't tell him what he did wrong. They just jumped on him. And, pulled him out the car. The whole time he's going, what did I do? Now they're telling him, to put his hands behind his back and blah, blah, blah. And he did not comply. Because he wanted to know why is all this happening to him. And he's looking at them going, you guys are doing too much. That's what he said. You guys are doing too much. Like, what did I do? Like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? And I can understand the moment. I mean, you have the law and then you have in the moment. In the moment when you are, nabbing someone and you surrounding them with, a bunch of mean cops and yanking on him and stuff, he's like, what's going on? He's not going to be so, or anybody is not going to be so apt to go, just do what you say. But nonetheless, the law, if they say, put your hands behind your back, you must do it. Or they take that as a sign of aggression, and that's what kicked it all off. Well, it was kicked off before that. These cops were just on the road because they never told him what he did. And you can watch the video on WorldStar. They just didn't tell him what he did. And it was like, why don't you explain to this young man while he's down on the ground, you guys are surrounding him, explain to him what he did to cause you guys to yank him out of his car 3 blocks from his house at a red light. Tell him what he did. Like, what happened? Like what? He's at a red light. He's sitting still. What did he do? You can't say you smelled weed and you dragged, because that's what they love to use. I smell weed, get out the car. I smell weed, we're coming in your house. I smell weed, we're going to just go ahead and do what we want to you. And then since nobody can verify that there's really, weed, even though you're like, I don't drink or smoke. Well, I smell weed, get out the car. Wait, cops, come on with the I smell weed. Or asking people 10 times, when did you smoke weed? Last when they clearly tell you they don't smoke. So it wasn't the whole I smell weed trick, because that's usually what white cops use on you. But they just yanked him out the car. Then they threatened him. Then they threatened to pepper spray him. And then they pepper sprayed him. And when they pepper sprayed him, they pepper sprayed themselves. And when that happened, he wasn't in handcuffs, which was still amazing to me. He wasn't in handcuffs when they pepper sprayed him. The pepper spray hit themselves. Once it hit themselves, it gave him enough time to spring up and take the hell off. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, he's going to be good. But of course, I already knew the ending was, he died in the hospital. I was like, okay, he's my whole thing is, listen, at least live to see another day when it comes to the police. So if they tell you to get down on the ground, get down on the ground. They tell you put your hands behind your back, put your hands behind your back. And we've even seen cases where they tell you get down on the ground and they shoot you while you're on the ground. We've seen this countless times. We've seen last year where a little 13-year-old boy was running and the cops was right behind him and the cop said, turn around and put your hands up. So the boy complied. 13 years old. He turned around, put his hands up, and the cop said, drop it, and shot him. And you can clearly see that kid had nothing in his hands. And then all the people are like, well, he shouldn't have been a gangster. It's just like, wait a minute, it's just okay. A 13-year-old boy. It's just okay to blow this child away. You murdered him in cold blood. And then the people are going, oh, he shouldn't have been a gangster. Like, how gangster is this 13-year-old boy? What did he do? So, it's so out of hand and it's so, well, I'm a cop, so I can do this. Everybody's, gay for the cops. It's just like, oh, what did we? Cops are shooting grandmothers. Shot that grandmother, just dusted her off. Came to the house, said he saw something, boom, blew her away. Everybody went to side for the cop. Like, he shot this grandmother in front of her grandchild. Her door was open. She was in her house. When is it going to be to the point where it's like, we had it like it's enough? And just the way they beat up Tyre Nickols, this what got me when they caught up to him. Because there were more cops on the whole, they called him, how they do. Called a bunch of other cops. They finally catch up to him. They start beating up on him again. They get him down on the ground and they're hitting him. And they're punching on him while they're holding him down and they're punching him in the face. I mean, it's because of what? Like, what did he do? Like, this guy didn't kill anybody. This guy didn't harm anybody. This guy didn't beat anybody up. This guy wasn't a big-time crack dealer. He wasn't a big-time coke dealer. This guy wasn't in the mafia, the cartel, the mob. He's nothing. And you're kicking his ass like he's just the worst dude in the world. And I mean, they beat the hell out of Tyre Nickols. And he died from blunt force trauma by way of fist. You can just see it. They're hitting him in the face, right? And then finally, they stop beating this guy up, and then they're assessing their injuries. Like they're all hurt. They're all out of breath. Oh my God, this happened. And they're just exasperating the whole, like they went through an ordeal, even though there's like 6 of them beating up on them. And at one point, they had him stood up in handcuffs. And they were holding him while another cop was just wailing on his face. And you can see the cop just circle around, bow, then come around the other way, bow, and Nickols is trying to move his head so he can evade these punches that he knows coming, because they already beat him up when he's on the ground. Now they stood him up like something out of a bar scene. And they were just holding him while this cop was just coming in. And this was a big ass cop. This is a big black. This dude was huge. And then he just cracked me. Listen. This is why there's referees during MMA fights. This is why you have people who are in MMA and boxing who have died from blunt force trauma. This is why there are doctors there, because they know how powerful a hit and unprotected. This is why they tell you fight back. If you're not fighting back, they know the chances of you getting hit and dying are rising with every hit. So if you're standing somebody up who's 150, 160 pounds, and you're all 230, and you're putting everything into it, just look at the film. You're putting, and you don't see it coming. Those are the worst ones. He knows something coming, but he can't avoid it, and they're turning him around so this cop can hit him, and pow, then then this cat runs around the other direction, hits him from behind. And you know, when you get hit from your blind side up like this, you have no protection. Your mind doesn't register that you're about to get hit. Because if it does, then you can turn your head and, or you can take half the blow. That when you see people fight and they know they're going to get hit, somebody swings and they hit them, they turn their face with the hit. So if you're coming this way, I know I'm going to get hit. I turn my face. That way I don't take the whole, I'm not concussed when I get hit. This is why in football, a lot of these people, get that CTE because they get concussed because they don't see the hit coming. You don't see it, you can't prepare for it. That's what killed him. He couldn't prepare for the hits coming, but he knew they were coming. And they were standing him up, and these hits was coming on his blind side. Crack! By the time the fist is right there and you see it, it's too late. When they sat him down, he had nothing else to say. He was just sitting there like he was in another world. He wasn't knocked out. He was dying. He was dying. That was it. Then listen, there is no ambulance. There is no doctor. There's no nurse, no preacher, no medicine man, no medicine woman that could have came and saved him after he got hit that many times. Nobody could have saved him. It was over. It was complete. While he was sitting there and they were assessing their damage and what had happened to their fist, he was on his way out of this world. That was it. And you could just look at the film. You could just see it. He had nothing. His brain just blunt force trauma. His brain was probably swelling out. I'm not a doctor, but I know if you get hit to where your brain is jarred, what happens is your brain starts to swell. And that's probably what killed him. So when he get to the hospital, they could have took him straight to the morgue. There was nothing left. There was nothing left that they could have done. After he got hit with those blindside hits, that was it. And listen, when the cops beat me up, they beat me up with a billy club. There's a black cop. And I was looking at him while he was hitting me in the head. So I still have a scar on my head from it. But, my skull is dented is what happened. But it wasn't blindsided, but I was looking right at him while he was hitting me. But it's a whole thing. If somebody would have came up behind me and, hit me, my brain wouldn't have expected it. No, nothing. I couldn't prepare for it. And those are the worst hits. And listen, the city is going to pay for that. The people, the taxpayers, we're going to pay for that. We're going to pay for what these road cops did. And listen, even if they do go to jail, because there's been 5 of them, I think, indicted for murder. And there's another thing. They indicted the black cops. But when you look at the body cam, it was a white cop there. There was a couple of them, actually. But there was a white cop who was officially helping out with everything. He's doing all the chasing. It's him and 2 black cops. So why all black cops are being indicted is beyond me. Like, no, there's a white cop that was right there from start to finish. He's in on it. And I hope they get his ass too. But the thing about it is, when these cops go to jail, they don't put them in Gen Pop. They put them in some cushy situation because they know they're going to get their ass kicked. And it's like, wait a minute. You guys are out there stealing from people. You guys are out there committing the most heinous crimes. You beat a man to death. You guys are committing grand larceny. You're stealing people's money right in front of them. If you don't know by now, the police have taken about $86 million off of just people traveling. They just stop them and say, "Hey, do you got any money, cash?" And they go, "Yeah, I have $10,000." And they go, like, "We're gonna confiscate it," because they have this weird law where they can confiscate it, and then you have to go fight to get it back. And the cops tell you, "Don't even try to fight to get it back; it won't even be worth it." And then they take that money and divide it up amongst themselves or put it in, or they say they add it to the police. No, they're stealing it right in front of you because they're saying you could be a drug dealer. So if you're traveling with money, be aware that the cops will take your money. They'll take it right in front of you and then tell you, hey, hire a lawyer to see if you can get it back. Lawyer's going to cost you $5,000. By the time it's all said and done, it won't even be worth it. This is what they'll tell you. And these little, especially if you're on a highway or something like that, that's what these cops are doing. But of course, city cops are doing it too. This is why those cops in Maryland got busted for doing it. That task force in Maryland got busted for doing it. When that whole Johnny Gray thing. This is what a lot of that was about. They were running around robbing drug dealers. They didn't care about taking a drug dealer off the street. They knew that. Listen. Anybody out there who is flipping narcotics, the cops already know who you are. And what these crooked cops do, and this is all over the world, but what these crooked cops do, the crooked cops, is they have a task force for drugs. That task force is not set up to take the drug dealer off the street. I knew some guys who were drug dealers, and they say, listen, they already knew who I was. When they wanted to pick me up, they would just come and pick me up. And then they would let me go. You know why? Because they were looking for who he was connected to. They wanted to get the big fish because they wanted to take their money back to the precinct, and then the money goes missing. What do you think happens to that money? It goes missing all the time. This is why you got cops who are like, something's wrong here, and then those cops go missing. The cops who speak up about it, you can't be an honest cop. It's a hazard. It's a work hazard to be an honest cop. That's what's really going on. All these, why do you think the cartel is in California and all over the place now? Why do you think that they're able to easily move into California? All these people who are gone missing, you think the police don't have something to do with that? You think the United States couldn't stop that from happening here in the United States? No, they're doing it on purpose. Because there's money in all of it. You gotta understand, those people funded America when America collapsed at one time. Mexican money. I mean, it is deep. So when you have, cases like this, you're going, well, we've seen this over and over and over again, and they have so many laws that protect the cops, some kind of immunity that protect the cops, and you're like, even if you indict these cops, okay, so in some cases, when a cop gets indicted, what happens is internal affairs looks at it, right? We know that they're cops. Internal affairs are the police who are looking at the police. They're investigating the police. And then in some cases, they go into a I forgot what the court system calls it, but basically where the people who are complaining against them can't even make a formal complaint. It's just a judge and the cop's lawyer, and then they make the decision. I forgot what the term is. I'm not a lawyer. It's just like, wait, what? How did this person? How to do? Or what they'll do is, like in the Johnny Gamage case in Pittsburgh, where they like the same thing happened to Johnny Gamage. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Johnny Gamage was driving a Jaguar that belonged to a Pittsburgh Steeler. He was related to him. So he was driving his Jaguar up in Bloomfield in Pittsburgh, PA. Cops stopped him. And when they stopped, I'm going to turn this music off. When the cops stopped Johnny Gamage, they drug him out of his car. The thing they did to Tyre Nickols. They drug him out, except they were all white cops. Drug him out of his car, and they started beating him. And he was like, what did I do? What did I do? and they were just beating him and beating him and beating him. And then finally, they did a George Floyd on Johnny Gamage, and they put their knee on his neck and cracked his neck going this way. Just broke his neck. And the ambulance, when the ambulance got there, they were still beating on him. He was dead. And they were still whooping Johnny Gamage's ass. Still beating on him. So being that it happened in Bloomfield, there are black people who live in Bloomfield. I've been there. I'm from Pittsburgh. As a matter of fact, when I went to visit a woman there, she said, listen, this is where Johnny Gamage died. You need to go home. Because it was nighttime. I was like, peace. I never came back. So nonetheless, what they did was they got a jury of your so-called peers, but they noticed that there were a few black people who were in the jury. They were like, nope, we're going to have a mistrial. They had a mistrial. They took it to an all-white area. They had the trial there, and they hung the jury. Boom, they threw it out. Those cops never did a day in jail. They beat Johnny Gamage to death. Beat him to death. So I'm just saying, this is a repeat. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And even if you do get these, listen, that's why they put these black cops up here, because there was a white cop. You can see the white cop in the video. There was a white cop is involved in it too. They're taking him straight up out of there. So they want us all to be mad at all the black cops. And the black cops were doing bad stuff, but there was a white cop in there too, but they don't want to put him in there. So I'm just saying, look at it for what it is. And like I said, and here's the thing. Like I said, they usually don't put cops in general population, but I'm betting a dime to a dollar they put them black cops in general pop. I bet they make an example out of them. You think Amber Heard, not Amber Heard, Amber Heard too, her lying ass. Amber Geiger, you think she's having a hard time in prison right now? Hell no. She's not. She got sentenced to 10 years. How many years do you think Amber Geiger was going to do? For killing both of John while he was eating ice cream in his own apartment. How many years do you think Amber Geiger is going to do? They gave her 10 years. She's not going to do 10 years. Hell, one of the witnesses is dead. I'm just saying, you guys, when it comes to the police, if they stop you, just, okay, it's whatever. Because we can start reciting laws, knowing they know the law. They don't care. They will kill you, go on administrative leave, and think nothing of it. They don't care. In this city, two people, one person I knew, the other person I didn't know, they were speaking out publicly against them. They're both dead. And they weren't even close to 30. One was 28, the other one was like 24. They left one of them on the state lawn. Like when you woke up, you saw this kid on the state capitol steps, dead. And they said he committed suicide. I knew him personally. I was like, that kid did not commit suicide. He was a Black Lives Matter leader. He didn't commit suicide. I knew him for years. I was like, no, he didn't do it. They killed him. And the girl was another Black Lives Matter. She was speaking out against the police. They found her floating down the river. Do you understand what I'm saying? Listen. There's only so much arguing I'm going to do when it comes to the cops. Because I've had them ask me for my ID, and I go to reach in my wallet, and they go to reach for their gun. I already know what the deal is. You guys are assholes. You guys are power tripping. You're armed. I'm not armed. You're just going to lie and said, you thought I had a gun. That's what they did to the dude in New York years ago. He pulled out his wallet. And those guys, and they blew his ass away. A bunch of cops dusted this kid. I forgot what his name was. I forgot what that guy's name was. And this is why everybody was like, I'm going to change my wallet to orange. He pulled out his wallet and they killed him over and over. They just opened fire on him. They lit his ass. You think they went to jail? Hell no. What they did was they took the money that we pay into the taxpayers and they gave that money to his people, and everybody went on about their business. That's what happens. That's what's going to happen now. These guys might get indicted for maybe 5 years. They're not going to do 5 years. I'm just telling you now. When it comes to the police, especially if they're doing that, if you're at a red light and they pull you, tell you to get out the car, and they're all hopped up on whatever, listen, live to see the courthouse because it's all recorded. And then, that wasn't the Philando Castillo case. This was before Philando. In the Philando case, dude got away with it because Philando's with his girlfriend and he was in the passenger seat. And listen, this is what I'm saying. They flaunt the law because they stopped her, and I don't know why that cop stopped her. It was a single cop. They stopped her. But when you stopping a passenger, if it wasn't for theft, if the car's not stolen, or they're not doing drugs or something like that, then as a passenger, you really don't have to identify yourself. If it's a traffic stop, the passenger, by law, the passenger doesn't have to identify themselves. But if you don't, you're going to get harassed. So they asked Philando Castillo, even though he was the passenger, it was like, he was like, okay, I'm gonna pull out my wallet. He's like, I'm letting you know, which he should have, that I have a registered weapon in the car. Yeah. He's letting them know, I have a registered weapon in the car. Philando Castillo wasn't doing anything wrong. He's with his family. And the cop, said whatever to him, and then he went to give him his credentials, which the cop also asked for, and the cop shot him. And all he needed to know was he had a gun. Nobody cares about anything else. And when you look at the thread of excuses they give for taking a man's life that these other people are on the internet are giving, it's just like, y'all don't give a damn about us. You're making every excuse for this cop to shoot a man who wasn't a threat to him. He didn't reach for his gun. He didn't say, I'm gonna do something to you. He let you know he had a registered. Listen, there's a Second Amendment. We're allowed to carry weapons. But if you're black and you're carrying a weapon, listen, there's a good chance that you're going to get shot by the police. We know this. No, I forget the dude's name, but it was in New York. Shoot. Wasn't Johnny Gray. It was damn. Because he was at a club. He was coming outside of a club. And the New York police surrounded him, and they did him so dirty. Look at what happened to Willie, that little 22-year-old rapper who was in his car at a drive-thru, at like a Burger King drive-thru, and he fell asleep. He's out clubbing, and he's waiting at the drive-thru. You know how you wait, and he was probably drunk or whatever, and he fell asleep waiting on, to pull up to get a burger. So the people who worked there was just like, they called the police. This guy is, he's out. Yeah, I fear for my life. This is why they're, listen, I don't play around them. I don't mess around them. I'm not friends with them. I don't look at them as my friend. I look at them as servants. If I have to work with you, I have to work with you. But that's it. I look at that's what you are. You're a servant. If you're doing a job, boom. If I have to be here because I'm doing a job, that's the way I look at them. But I don't look at them and go, yeah, we're friends. You're here to protect me. You're here to do whatever job you're assigned to do, and then we go, and that's it. But yeah, Philando Castile, he shouldn't have died. And they made every excuse for him. There's just so many cases where the cop has a, and I'm gonna tell you something, man. Listen, nobody's getting away with anything. God sees all. He ain't playing with none of us. Murder is murder. Do not commit murder. Do not bear false witnesses. A lot of people are doing that. A lot of these people on the internet who are helping these cops and sympathizing with these crooked cops, not the good ones, the crooked ones, they're just helping them. And it's just like, y'all don't even know what you're doing. I mean, look at how about the one young lady, I think it's in Ohio, she was in the back of a police van, dead. And they saw a cop get out the van. She was at the precinct. Like, yeah, there's a dead black girl in the back of the. They go, this dead black girl. Who went to jail for that? No one. A cop murdered that girl in the back of the van, and that was that. That was that. Just killed her. Right there and then, boom. The whole Sandra Bland, nobody went to jail because of what happened to Sandra Bland. Nobody. 5 other women that year, the same thing happened to them. One girl was in there because of some goofy thing with a cell phone. Sandra Bland went to jail for a turn signal. A turn signal. You pulled her out of the car for a turn signal. This is why she was irate. Like, why are you doing all this for a turn signal? Give me my ticket. Let me pay the $120. Get out of the car. Why? What happened to, here's your ticket, I'll see you in court? Oh, no, it's get out of the car now. It's get out of the car, you're going to jail. Listen, that's kidnapping. When they tell you to get out of the car and there's no good reason, for one, you have to comply in the state of Ohio. Get out of the car. You have to show your ID and you have to get out of the car in the state of Ohio. You don't have no choice. And as soon as you get out, what do? They frisk you. They ask you real quick, you don't have any weapons on you, blah, blah, blah. And while they're asking that, they're breaking the law because they come forth and they start frisking you. They're not allowed to Terry frisk you without you complying. But they don't ask you that. They do it all in one fell swoop, and they're saying, we're just checking for weapons. Well, you just commit. That's a crime. What you just did is a crime. You can't just Terry frisk me. I have to comply to that. That's searching me. You have no reason to search me. Oh, we're just checking. It doesn't matter. You cannot search me unless I comply to it. But they do it all the time. And if you complain about it, then you get so what's going on, man? Like, why are you nervous? Like, you're making me nervous, man, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, you're in handcuffs. And you could be sitting there standing still. You could say absolutely nothing. We're just going to put these handcuffs on you because, we feel that you're a threat. You're making us a little nervous. You're not saying nothing. You're just standing there. You're making us nervous because you're not saying anything. If you say the cow jumped over the moon, you're making us nervous because the cow jumped over the moon. They're going to put you in handcuffs, and then they're going to escort you to the car. And after that, they're going to search your car. I know all this because it's happened to me. I didn't tell you could search my car. I've had cops do that to me and then give me, when they find nothing, they give me no information so I don't know who to complain to. I've had this happen to me. I come walking out of Target and then boom, they surrounded me, told me to get out, pushed me to the side, went and searched my car, found nothing. So they're really doing this. But some people, they're taking them to jail. And when they take you to jail, You're like, why am I here? Well, because we and then some BS. Like, wait, what? Why did you even stop me? Like Q-Tip, well, not Q-Tip, Ti. They did the same thing to him. They pulled him over, took him out the car, put him in handcuffs, put him in the boom, took him to jail, and he was like, "Why am I here?" He said, "Because you came back at me and started asking me questions." He was like, "That's my right. I have the right to ask you questions." This is what the cop told him. The cop said, "I arrested you and brought you to jail because you started asking me questions." This is what he told T.I., a multimillionaire. Yeah, that hurt my feelings. It just hurt, didn't it? Didn't that hurt? It hurt my feelings to watch that and watch this man cry for his mother, a full grown man. And I'm telling you something, I did not know at the time that he only lived 3 blocks from where he was. I just found that out not too long ago. Like 20, 25, before I got on here. He lived right around the corner. So he wasn't just calling for his mother. He was really calling for his mother. He was hoping she was in earshot. When he got up and ran, he was running towards home. It looked like he just got up and ran. See, when you start, getting the details, now we really start getting the details. For one, he had Crohn's disease. He was sick. But when you start really getting the details of his mindset, he's thinking to himself, if I could just get home to my mother, I can just, if I can just get home. I'm 3 blocks away. If I can just, and that's what made him run. When they hit him with that pepper spray, he was like, I'm out. When he saw them cops struggling, he got up and he was and he ran as far as he could, but he had pepper spray in his lungs. Slowed him down. Slowed him right down. Other cops saw him. I mean, just think, if he didn't have that pepper spray in his system and he got away from them cops, they wouldn't have got him. He was in his own neighborhood. He would have been over the fence and boom, he'd have been out. But he had that pepper spray in him, and that pepper spray, it did its job. It really did. It slowed them all down. The cops too. Cops couldn't even do anything. They had to run away from their own pepper spray. Well, he took advantage of that because nobody could breathe. Yeah, it hurt. It just hurt to hear him say that. Yeah, he kept crying for his mother because he was hoping his mom was in earshot. Just think, you're 3 blocks from your house and you're in distress. You know your mother is 3 blocks from here. So he started calling for his mother, which was a natural thing to do. And you see his mother when the cops, when they had her in the precinct, she's dressed in black with the glasses, and the lawyer was talking about what happened. Her mother, his mother, just started breaking down. Like, they loved each other. Like, she just started breaking down, crying. She had to turn her head. Listen, there's gonna be hell to pay for that. There's gonna be hell to pay. And I'm telling you. And here's another thing I know about these cases. What's going on now, B? No, it's not funny at all. But here's another thing I know about these cases. Whenever these cases of like whenever you have something that's unexplainable, like this is unexplainable. You just snatch his kid out of his car and do him like that. It's unexplainable how violent this was. Even when you had him in handcuffs, you had him in complete custody, surrounded by cop cars, and you didn't put him in the car. Even when the ambulance came, I mean, when you looked at him when the ambulance came, the kid was pretty much done. He was moving, but he was so lethargic, he didn't even know where he was. But it's just unexplainable the violence that the way they was hitting him. So, I mean, they beat him up. They beat him up so bad, and they kept beating on him. And when you have something that can't be explained, there's a lot going on before the event. It's just now it's at its apex. And now, because they've been doing it so long, because this type of spirit is in them, because this much violence is within the precinct, and this much just evil is in the precinct, now it comes to a head. Because when you're dealing with that type of spiritual madness, eventually it's just going to show its face. And when it does, and when it spills over, usually somebody's dead. But now, because you kill him, now we're gonna be like, okay, what else is going on here? Like, why would you do this? And I'm telling you, it's gonna roll right uphill. It's gonna roll. You think it's just gonna be these 5 cops? No. They're gonna start. They're gonna blow the lid wide open. There's gonna be money missing. There's gonna be drugs missing. Listen, there's going to be children involved. I'm trying to tell you, it's going to open up a whole can of worms. When Amber Geiger killed Botham John, the Men in Black came out of nowhere. Those secret service type dudes, they came out of nowhere, and they were looking for witnesses. The girl who filmed it, they were looking for her, like, yeah, we want to talk to you. It's just like, what does this have to do with you? Read some of your comments. Yeah, you already know now, B. It's always deeper. Yeah, he ran. Okay, so no. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's. I'm going to get right with you. Whatever your name is. Let me read some more comment. BP need to run from the police for the lab. That's what I'm talking about. That's what there's a whole thing to that. When you talk about black people need to run for their lives, like, that's not a joke. I don't know what that means. It is. I need my glasses. Okay, so let me get to what you're saying. Afro, whatever your name is. All right, so you're saying he ran from the police. You have the law, and then you have the law of ethics. Now, when you have the law, you have the written law. So you have the written federal, state, city, county, city, whatever. You have the law. These are city cops. They go by the written law, right? If someone flees the scene, all depends on if they're armed or not. If they're not armed, you don't use deadly force. How do we know this? Because Laquan McDonald was walking away from the police, which means he was not a threat. Cop opened up and shot him 28 times. That cop went to jail. Why? Because he was not a threat. So when you say you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, you need to understand that person should not be dead. Tyre should not be dead. Those cops should have tracked him down, which they did, and they should have put him in handcuffs, which they did, but here's where they went wrong. Okay, so you can't say because he ran and made them work harder, they deserve to kill him. You can't do that, or there would be a lot more people dead. Like that's not a law. That's not a thing. So you can't justify his death by saying he ran from the cops. Did he have a weapon in his hand? No, he was completely unarmed. He was running away. He was no threat to anyone. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even a threat from the beginning. So for them to be that aggressive with him doesn't even he didn't do a crime that constitute their aggression. Now, when they first told him, they first got him out the car, it was telling him to turn around, get on his back, and he didn't comply. I thought that was wrong. I was like, he should have complied. But he was like, what are you doing? Why is this happening to me? But still, I was like, he should have complied. I'll read your comments in a minute. I was like, I want to get this out. I was like, he should have complied. He should have turned around. He would have still been alive today. They would have stood him up. Then they would have told him what the hell was going on. But he didn't because of their aggression. You have to understand, they met him with aggression. They didn't meet him with any sensibility, any decorum to make him think this was just a traffic stop. They met him with violence. They dragged him out of the vehicle. Look, you could see the whole thing. And when they did that, it was go time for everyone. Nobody is acting in their right mind at this point. It is completely animalistic and it's out of control because they met him with violence. And he's like, what are you doing? And he told them, you're doing too much. What did I do? Then they hit him with the pepper spray. And when they hit him with the pepper spray, he wasn't handcuffed. He got up and he made a dash for it. He was trying to run home because he lived 3 blocks from there. He was going to see his mother where he thought he would be protected. When other cops caught up to him, and when the other cops caught up to him, of course, they held him. They tried to put him in handcuffs again. They got him in handcuffs, but while he was in handcuffs, those first cops who caught up to him started punching him in the face while he was on the ground. That is illegal. Once again, he's not a threat to you. So you can't be punching this man in the face and he's on the ground clearly with 5 of you surrounded. He has no weapons. He's not a threat to you. That is not how you do police work. But they're punching the hell out of him. And what even made it worse is when they finally got the handcuffs on him, they stood him up and there was a cop who was punching him in the face from every direction. He hit him in the face here, then he ran around his blind side, hit him again, then he ran around his blind side and hit him again. And that third time he hit him, that was it. He was catching him from the blind side. He had no way to stop what was happening to him, and the cops were holding him there. And this other cop who outweighed him by 100 pounds was hitting him flush in the face from the blind side. That's what killed him. Now I'll read your comments. Yeah, both of them, John, was sitting on his couch eating ice cream. If city cops beat me as homosexual, I take the beating and sue after I know. Well, here's it. I mean, you don't. I don't know what homosexual has anything to do with it, but if the cops beat you, I don't think you've ever been beaten by a cop before. I have. And I went to the hospital. And you know what? When I look up those records today, they're totally erased. There's no record of what they did to me. And you have to understand how vicious it is to get beaten by a cop. And they laugh at you. While I'm standing there, my head is cracked. My finger is broke. My ribs are bruised. I have blood coming down. It's all over my car. They laughed. Those cops laughed at me. They thought it was funny. You ain't never been beaten by a cop, or you wouldn't be sitting there talking about. Let me tell you something else about you talking about you go ahead and sue them. I did that. I went to the feds. I made my report with the feds. Nothing happened. I went to the court system. I went and got a lawyer. The lawyer was more on their side than mine. Didn't even want to take my case. One of them lawyers said, "We don't get paid till you get paid," and that's not what happened. He took my case file. I was like, "Yeah, I pulled your case file, but you need to pay $200 because we have to do this whole other I didn't have $200. So even those lawyers are scammers, and it was an open and shut case. It was clear what they did to me. I was clearly in the hospital. I came out with a cast on. It's pretty clear. You don't understand. It's not easy because the judge, the officers, the prosecutor, even the lawyers who are supposed to be on your side, they'll take the cop's side. They will hang a jury real quick because they know these cops are gangsters. They have to work with these police. These police, listen, I had one incident where I had to go, eventually, to court. And, I was out. And you know what they did? They were sending somebody around to my house to damage my property. They would damage my car. I'd come outside and my car would be trashed. I'd be sitting outside playing my guitar. They make a fake call to the police and say, "Hey, there's a guy out here who has a gun." Next thing you know, the police, boom, all showed up, blocked off the corner and everything. And I'm looking at them like, "What's going on?" And they get out the car and they say, "Hey, we just got a report that there was a guy who had a gun and he looked like you." You don't know what you're talking. You don't know what you're up against. You don't know. You don't know what you're up against when it comes to the police. And they said, "Do you have a gun?" And I was like, "I have a guitar." And they said, "Can we frisk you?" Which is the right thing to do. Mind you, I'm surrounded by police now, and I'm just sitting out there playing the guitar. And I said, "Sure, go ahead." He frisked me, he got in his car, and he left. What they was hoping was that the cop would arrest me or kill me. And they did this all the way up until my court date because they was trying to get me on a worse charge to keep me in jail. And this was the prosecutor who sent these people after me. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. It is a vicious cycle once you get anywhere near these cops. There's a whole organization, underground people who are working with them just to get you into that jail and keep you there. Why do you think there's so many black men who have been innocent for 25, 35 years, and then all of a sudden, oh, the DNA shows that you didn't do it, and they knew they didn't do it. Some of these prosecutors are coming out and saying, "We knew he didn't do it, but we needed someone." Now you don't know what you're up against. You can talk all the trash you want to, but if a cop beats your ass, you're not going to sue nobody. Let me tell you something about somebody else who thought the same thing right here in this city. Another black man. Yeah, cops beat his ass. Beat his ass real good. And you know what? He went to court. And when he went to court, guess what? He won. You know how much money he won? $2 million. $2 million. Now ask me, did he ever see that $2 million? You know what happened after they said you won $2 million? He signed his death warrant. That guy was dead shortly after. That judge said you won $2 million. They killed him right here in this city. Black man. They killed him. They made sure he didn't get any of that money. You don't know what you're up against. I'll read some more of your comments. You can't sue. Exactly. You can't sue if you're dead. Off the bat, yeah, he was scared for his life. He did the only thing he could do. You gotta understand, this is a young man. He's not. This is a young dude, and I don't know if he's ever been in trouble with the law before, but it doesn't look like it. We're not looking at a 5-time felon. I mean, I don't know, but this doesn't look like. As a matter of fact, I think he was coming from his job. This just doesn't look like somebody who's used to getting arrested. And then when you get surrounded by, a bunch of big cops, it wasn't female cops who were. There were some big boys. It looked like the task force. And you'll crap your pants if the task force runs up on you, talking all that crap, because you don't know whether you're gonna live or die. And what happens when you get in that situation? It's called fight or flight. So I'm not mad that he ran. I wish he would have made it to his mother's house. I was hoping he did, but once you get hit with that pepper spray, it's a whole different animal. You're fighting from the inside. So like I say, you don't know what you're talking about. I've seen videos where it was a young man who was on a bike. He was on a bike. He's on a bike like 15. On a bike, on a curb. A bike, a pedal bike, a Huffy, a Schwinn. And the cops were after him. And he made it home. They showed up at his house in force. And his family came outside and they were just like, what's going on? They were just like, tell him to come outside. And it's like, nah, you ain't telling him to come outside. And be like, and the cop was like, listen, no matter what you say, we're taking him. We're coming, we're gonna come in that house and we're gonna get him, or you're gonna bring him outside. Everything that cop said was illegal. For one, it was a minor. So how bad could it be? For two, if that kid's in the house, you need to have a warrant to go into that house. Not unless that kid committed a crime. And you couldn't articulate what crime he committed. You wanted him because he got away from you because of some stupid ticket you were trying to give a kid on a bike. And it was a black kid. They threatened that whole family. So they brought the kid out and they took him. Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but nowadays, if somebody takes your kid, it's a good chance that you don't know where that kid's going. Because trafficking is being done by these same road cops. There is an epidemic right here in Ohio where there are kids missing. 17, 15, 13, 14, and nobody knows. This is going on all over the states. And it's just like, where are all these people? What? They're being taken by the police. And before you go, the police aren't doing this, let's just backtrack a little bit. Because about 40 years ago, the same thing was happening. Except the police were white police and they were targeting little black girls. And this was during the time, 60s and 70s, where your parents could tell you to go to the store and it was safe. You'd walk out of your house and you'd go to the store. Well, we all know don't talk to strangers. But this is what was going on. The police were watching these kids walking back to the store, just minding their business. And when a cop stops and says, hey, come here, what are you going to do? You're going to go over and see what the hell's going on. Well, the cop was stopping these kids, putting them in the car, riding up into the mountains, doing whatever they want with them. Then they would get rid of the body, but they would take the shoes and leave the shoes by the road. Why would they do this? Because they wanted black people to know that we're not safe. Those girls were never found. And when they started doing an investigating, we had to go to the same cops who were doing it to find out what was going on. Eventually, it came out that there were 2 cops doing this. Like I said, you don't know the monster you're up against. This has been going on for a very long time. A long time. This happened in somewhere in, listen, we are one cousin away from somebody who's been affected like this with the police. Somebody in your family somewhere this has happened to in some kind of way. They've been taken somewhere. They trust me, it's happened. It's happened in my family, and so let's stop acting like the police aren't doing stuff. They're bad. They're doing a lot of bad stuff right in front of us, and we're supposed to think that that badge protects us. It's not protecting us. Our children are going missing because they trust the police. But what you're seeing with this case, with this young man, and the way they rolled up against him, he tried to get away from them. Now, like I said, there's the law, and there's ethics. I don't condone any of what happened. But from the very beginning, there is a protocol on how you're supposed to engage, and there's a protocol for us, and there's a protocol for them. They did not approach him according to the protocol that they're taught. And he did not respond according to just the ethical protocol that we're all taught. We're all taught to respect the police because we supposed to think that intrinsically they're good. Their intentions are good. We did something to draw their attention, so we're going to make it home. This is what we're taught. This is what your dad and your mom teach you. Just listen to them, follow their orders, blah, blah, blah. But it isn't always the case. When they come up to you and they're completely irate, now what? Now what's the protocol for that? What happened? What did I do? I'm just coming home from work. I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know. They drag you out of your car in the middle of the highway or middle of whatever road that is. And he's like, what happened? He told him you guys are doing too much. Like, what happened? He's like 160 pounds and he was sick. He was no competition for them. Which is another thing I don't understand. How is it that you couldn't subdue a 160-pound male and there's 4 or 5 of you surrounding him? How is it that you couldn't get the hand without using a pepper spray and tasing him? I don't understand this. How about the Black Lives Matter relative that just died? Same thing. He got pulled out of his car, right? And they were trying to get him to comply. And he was asking him questions. He was like, what's going on? Well, asking, what did I do? Blah, blah, blah. It's a traffic stop. It's the same thing. Just happened a week ago. And they tased him. If you don't comply, we're gonna tase you. He's in a state of panic because he doesn't know what's going on. They hit him with the taser. Boom. Now his body is taking over and his mind is not thinking. His body is like, I need to get out of here because that hurt. I'm trying to get up out of here. You're telling him to be still, roll over. You're giving him commands while you're shocking him. You hit him again, boom. You hit him again, boom. And then finally, he's somewhat calm. And there's 2 or 3 of you on him. How is it that you wasn't able to get handcuffs on this man? And then finally, when you hit him again with the taser. Bang, killed him right there. Right there, stopped his heart. You didn't even have to tase him that last time. Look, it's all on video. You can see where the man dies. You can hear him dying. They hit him with that taser one more time, and boom, that was it. Death by taser is a thing. There are a lot of people who have died by taser. And it's usually the cops who are pressing them. And I don't get it. There are 5, 6 of you. And you can't subdue this one person. Not to mention, if you done tase that person 2 or 3 times, then the taser's not gonna work. Taser's not working. It's not gonna work. All right. Have you ever seen the video of the cops who tried to tase Demetrius? Type in "I am Demetrius." Just look that dude up. Demetrius looked like a young Ray Lewis. And there's like 6 cops hitting him with billy clubs in his legs, trying to, tell him to get down. And every time one of them came toward him, he'd swing at him. And he would look at him and say, "I am Demetrius." And he kept walking towards him. Now, some people in the comments were going, "Shoot him." Like, why? Why are you shooting him? You came to his house because the people called for you because Demetrius was having some kind of breakdown. Something was wrong with. Oh, kill him! He's having a nervous breakdown. Something bad happened to him. Kill him. Demetrius is walking at you, telling you, "I am Demetrius." These cops are running. They're trying to tase him. Boom, they tase him. He pulled the taser right out. Boom, "I am Demetrius." It's a beautiful thing. Finally, there was about 9 cops. They all jumped on him at once. Demetrius is still alive. Something mentally happened to him, and this is why he was called. But because he's such a strong person, whoever his people was like, "We're not dealing with this." This dude is strong. We already know he's strong. Let's get some people out here to handle this. And that's what happened. Now, that whole situation, they didn't over tase him. They hit him a couple times with the taser and they said, "This isn't going to work." They noticed it. They were like, "There's no sense to keep tasing him because he's pulling them out and he's still walking at us." So there's enough of them that got, within striking distance, and they got him from behind and forward, and they jumped on him and they wrestled him to the ground. Then they got his hands, where they could, arrest him. They pulled him up, they put him in a car, and Demetrius is still alive today. That's how you do it. So I don't understand for the life of me why Tyre is dead, or the Black Lives Matter leader. I don't understand why you couldn't hold all of you as big. You see the way they beat Tyre? It's like they had something personal against him. Like, I hope that the cop who was wailing on him, I hope this cop never gets out of jail. Never. And let me explain something to you. If you were ever in the military, or you ever had any military training, or you were ever a fighter, UFC, and or boxing, and you had your hands licensed, or you were in any type of combat training where it was stamp sealed, "This person has been in combat training. This person knows how to do this." If there's any documentation of that out there on you, and then you take that information and you kill somebody, they do not look at the murder as an accident. So when you see this cop beating him up like this, for one, you're a cop, which means you had some kind of combat training. You had combat training because you're a police officer. You had escalating and de-escalating training. So if you hit somebody, you know how to hit them, you know how hard to hit them, and you know what the results of hitting them is. In short, it takes it from second degree to first degree. It takes it from manslaughter which is 10 to 25, to first degree, which is murder 1, and intentional. You ever notice the people who get the worst numbers, they get it when they intended to do it? And then they say, oh, I didn't intend to do that. I didn't intend to. And then they go and look at their background. And I go, well, you were well aware that if you did this, that it will result with. You're well aware of that. And because you were in your right mind and you were well aware of it, that is first degree. It's not an accident. Vehicular homicide, if you get in a car accident and somebody dies, you didn't mean to do it. Vehicular homicide. But if you run somebody down on purpose, that's murder 1. You intended to do it. I'm just telling you guys, when you look at these, when you're looking at this case, you gotta look at the law. You gotta look at as much as the aspects of the law. And think along those lines. And then you got to look at the privilege of being a cop. But here's the thing, these are black cops. They don't have the same privilege as white cops. They didn't show you not one white cop that was there, but nonetheless, there's a white cop right there on camera. It's all black cops. They want everybody to be upset at black cops. It was very clear there was a white cop right there. The beat goes on. I've seen it over and over and over again. And listen, I hope he gets justice, but he's not. They may pay, look. That mother, even if she gets $5 million, that mother's going to cry for the rest of her life. It's not going to bring her son back. He was beaten to death in public. He was beaten to death. Beaten to death. Like Emmett Till, beaten to death. He could do absolutely nothing. You can't tell me that he did something to justify this. He did absolutely nothing to justify this. Did he resist? Yeah. Did he get up and run? Absolutely. 100%. Hell, he was the voice of reason when it first started happening. Everybody else was yelling. He was like, what are you guys doing? He was just like, that guy from Louisiana who was standing outside the grocery stores selling his CD. What was that guy's name? And then the people, it was like at a gas station or something. But the people who were inside the store didn't want him out there selling the CD. He was selling his CD. I forgot that dude's name. He was selling a CD. The cops rolled up. Listen, they even have on camera, the cops' cameras already activated before they got to the scene. And the cops said while they were in the car that they were going to shoot and kill him. While they were in the car, they said, we're going to kill this guy. When they got there, they pinned him to the ground, his arms wide open. The cop pulled out his gun and bam, 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 bam. Shot him in the chest while his arms was open like a cross. Shot him point blank. He had the gun to his chest for selling CDs. For selling CDs. They knew he was armed. He didn't pull out the gun. They tried to say that he pulled out the gun. But you know what? At the end, when you see the video, you see them pulling out a gun and then throwing it towards his body. He had a gun. It's all on video. He didn't even say a word. He didn't pull out his gun and point it at you. He didn't do nothing. You pinned him to the ground, then you crucified him. But here's the thing. It was all on camera. And being that it was on camera, we waited to see what was going to happen. Those cops got away with that. You know what happened after that? About a year later, there was a black guy who was in the Marines. And he saw that video. He is from Louisiana. And he was like, hell no. Got out of the Marines, went and got himself one of them rifles that cost about, $2,000. He was a combat veteran. He knew how to slice the pie. He hunted 3 cops down and killed them. And he left a manifesto. And he said, I killed them because of what they did to so-and-so. 1 black cop, 2 white cops dead. Those cops had nothing to do with the situation. But they killed that boy, and he was like, nope, I'm not letting it happen. Eventually, they caught him and they killed him. He was like, so what? So what? They killed him in cold blood. These 3 cops died in cold blood. End of story. When I saw that, when I saw the way they killed him, I even made a video about it. Nobody watched it, but I made a video about it. And I said, there will be blood. You cannot kill somebody like that. And the kid said nothing. He said, absolutely nothing. You can't murder somebody like that without that spirit catching up to you. And eventually, that's exactly what I knew it was going to happen. Eventually, that spirit went out. That violent spirit went out, and it attached itself to somebody, and it said, go and do this. And he was like, compliance. You cannot mess around with these spirits because they will come for you. And that's exactly what happened. And those cops paid for it. He wrote that manifesto, and he let them know exactly what happened. And in broad daylight, he hunted those 3 cops down, and he killed them. You're not going to beat Tyre up like that and something that happened. There will be a response. You can't do it. You can't beat. You can't kill. You can't just openly shoot innocent people. You can't do it. They don't belong to you. Those people belong to God. You can't do it. You'll pay for it one way or another. Somebody's going to pay for it. This is not me saying I'm going to do it because I'm not. This is me saying that you cannot openly commit these heinous crimes without some type of repercussion. You're going to feel it. Listen. It doesn't come from the justice system. There's a whole nother justice system that's watching this. And when they get involved, that's your ass. These people, these people who are in positions of power, they think that they're the end all be all, but they're not. They are not. This is why the law was written down with God's own finger. When Jesus wrote those laws out, he was like, don't do this, because he knew what would happen if you did. Don't do this. Don't lust in the flesh. Don't bear false witness. Don't covet another man's wife. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't commit murder. Don't commit adultery, because they are spirits that are attached to it. And when you do, those spirits come for you. I'll read the comments. You can't sue your dad. Yes. He was scared for his life. Correct. You guys got anything else? I can talk about these situations in ad nauseum because, I watch them all the time and I see the rhythm. I see the pattern in these cases. And these things can only happen if there's somebody pulling the strings from the inside saying, go ahead and do this. There's somebody saying, it's okay to go ahead and slaughter black people. Somebody's giving these cops a false narrative. Go ahead, we'll give you money. We'll send you on leave. We'll give you immunity. We'll send you on leave, and then you're protected. Worry about it. How about the one chick? Shoot, I forgot her name. The lady cop shot that guy and said he wasn't following her orders. What punishment did she get? You know what she got? Fired. That was it. Let me enlighten you. There was a cop who were in 8 shootings. He was involved in 8 officer shootings. He's the one doing the shooting. 8 officers. When they fired him, you know what he did? He went down the street to another precinct and got hired. Try that on for size. When they fire a cop, the cop can just go to another county and they'll hire that cop. This guy's got blood on his hands. They'll hire him. Boom. He's not in jail. He's not in prison. You're hired. Boom. I'm trying to tell you, it's an ugly system that we're up against. And the good cops, thank God for them, but the system is rigged and it's made so the cops can do what they want. The judges too. I'm telling you, I had a case against an ex-girlfriend because her mother called the cops on me because I left some, messages on her phone to stay away from me. I was pissed, because she was doing some crazy stuff. And I was like, don't come around me. I was mad because I knew the guys who she was messing with and we had beef. So I was letting her know on the phone, don't come around here because there's going to be some problems. Her mother takes the messages, gives it to the cops. They come get me. I'm like, wait, I'm telling this crazy chick who said she was going to stalk me. Her and her mother's boyfriend is banging her out too. This dude threatened me. No, I'm not. I'm trying to tell her, look, I don't like confrontation, but when I get into it, I go left. I don't, this is why I don't carry a weapon, because I ain't no damn good. I'm trying to stay away from all that. But if you put me in it, I'm trying to take care of all of y'all. I don't, listen, I don't want, this is why people bother me. I just try to move around. Because I'm going to go crazy. You mess with me long enough, I'm going to hurt you bad. And I knew it. She pushed me to the limit. Well, shoot, I get up against the judge. And the judge starts yelling at me. Yelling. Black judge. I'm like, how are you so divested in what happened to me and this girl? Black judge. I was out on the block one day. I was downtown, as a matter of fact. Down by the meat market. And she comes walking out around the corner. And guess who comes walking around the other side? The judge. I'm like, the judge is knocking the chick too. I'm saying, listen, they throw ethics right out the window. I'm like, the judge is banging the chick out. This is why he's so, looking at me like I'm the bad guy. And I'm like, you have no idea. She's the bad person. But because she's got a coochie, you running up in her, getting all in your feelings. Now you get behind a damn bench and you're, trying to play God. Like, get out of here. You gonna pay for that. Y'all not getting away with nothing. Trying to tell you it's deep. If there's a good judge out there, God bless him. But listen, they doing dirt. Even my dad, God rest his soul, he used to tell me, listen, what these cops will do is they'll harass you, put you in jail, and then they'll go to your wife, your wife to your house, and then start screwing your wife. I was like, well, that sounds kind of good. I believe every bit of it now. Dare you to say something, and dare her to say something. This is my dad telling me this, meaning this has been going on for the longest time. These cops will harass you and then go and bang your wife and then and then dare your wife to say something. I dare. We will come back here and force say something. What happened to that one chick about 2 years ago? She was at her house in a car. There was a cop car on her property. And she was like, "Excuse me, sir. Like, can I help you?" And she wanted the cop to get off her property because she's afraid of cops. What the cop do? Gets out the car. He grabs this woman who's about 110 pounds, and he slams her face into the concrete and breaks her teeth. And then made up a lie that this 110-pound woman came at him violently. Cracked her whole face. This is why she didn't want the cops around, because she's scared to them. And then boom, that happens. There's some real monsters. How about that one guy in Arizona who was it in Arizona where he was reporting, talking about the precinct. He was writing blogs about what the precinct was doing. This was a white dude. They went to that dude's house. They parked across the street. Cop cars parked across the street. They had a van. They opened up that side door to that van, and they had like this camera thing sitting on the tripod, and they was shining it on his house. Broad daylight. What they were doing is they was checking for heat signatures. 2 days later, that guy was found stabbed to death and his house was burned down. No more blogs about the police. Trying to tell you, gotta be careful when it comes to the police. So all you people saying, "Oh, I would have did this, I would have did that," no, because you could have died too. Right there, just like him, you could have died right there. And then we got to go to court. And then we got to talk about how good these cops have been in the community, what they've done, and all the work that they've done. And this was just an accident. They had a bad day. They've never done this before. We got to hear from their mothers, all these cops' mothers. And they want you to completely ignore the fact that this kid had been beaten to death. And he didn't even see the age of 30. But these cops are going to have their whole life ahead of them. And then when they get in prison, they're not going to be in gin pop with the rest of, with the people who get stabbed and raped. They're not going through none of that. They're going to be in a place where all cops are. They're going to have jobs in there and everything. Regular food. They're not getting food from people who spitting in their food and putting stuff in it, poison in their food, and you getting your food taken, and you got to listen to this, the new guy come in and get raped for 3 weeks, because that's happening right now. You watching these young guys come in there and getting completely turned out. Completely brutalized right in front of you. tapping into these cops. There's not a cop that's going in jail and saying, I went in there and I got raped. You're not hearing that. You're hearing that from regular people. Just trying to say it's a whole different world for them. So all you people talking about this is what you would have done, no, you would have died. I just wish he would have just rolled over and not said anything. Let them put handcuffs on him. Because when he started crying for his mother, I'm going to tell you something. Him crying for his mother, that whole scene right there, that was a whole nation crying for their mothers. That was the whole bunch of history right there. He woke something up. He woke something up. You see how fast the response was? When he said mama 3 times, that was it. That was it. You don't play with those spirits. They'll come for you. We know he's not going to get justice, but his death is going to bring about a whole bunch of other things that are happening. And the people who have been... Let me give you all another story since you guys are still here. Remember... Okay, so you got Obama, right? Remember when Obama was a senator 10 years ago? Or it's more than that now. So when Obama was a senator in Chicago, he ran for president and got president, right? So they left the Senate seat open. There was a governor at that time, Blagojevich, who wanted the Senate seat. So Blagojevich was crooked. He didn't want to get the Senate seat by election. He wanted to get placed in the Senate seat just because. And he wanted to get paid $250,000, and he wanted his wife to get $250,000. Now, before I go any further, I used to work at the House of Representatives. I used to be a legislative aide, and I was there for a year, and I was an aide for 4 different legislators. 2 of them were Republican, 2 of them were Democrats. The last 2 were Democrats. Now, when the last guy I worked for, okay, so for one, they're not always there. So that leaves the legislative aides the one who's answering the phone. So when a constituent calls in, they call me, but I represent the legislator, correct? Because it's his or her office. So what I'm saying is that's sometimes that seat is open until it's filled by someone, until that person wins that election. That seat is open. It's so-and-so's office, but it's open. Get what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with this governor. He was like, I want to fill that Senate seat. I want to get put right in there. It was like, no, you got to win an election to get put in there. But the reason why we found out what Blagojevich was doing, we found out through a wiretap. How did we find that out? Let's backtrack. Let's go back a little bit. You guys better be giving me at least a like. I gave you guys a lot of information. So I don't usually ask for likes, but give me one anyway, because I appreciate it. Anyway, so what happened? What happened was there was a hospital, or there is a hospital, and the director or the administrator of the hospital. Okay, so let's go into a little healthcare information. For one, I have a degree in healthcare administration, so let's get that out the way. I have a 4-year degree in healthcare administration. This is how I know some of this. Whenever you build a wing onto a hospital, you have to go through what first? The federal government. I don't care what hospital it is. The federal government has to know that you're building a wing onto the hospital. Why? Because of contracts. Somebody has to get contracted for everything that goes into building a wing. Mostly the builder's contract, because that's where the most money is, correct? So when a builder's contract comes in, when the hospital says, we need a new wing, it costs millions of dollars to do this. So you have to have contractors to come in on every scale to come in and bid for that job. There has to be a legal open bid for those jobs. Millions and millions of dollars. Well, what happened was the administrator, who was a female, was sitting in her office. Somebody came into her office and said, don't call anybody else to do those contracts. Call this numbers. Bang! He left a card there and he walked out. That is illegal. There has to be an open bid for it. So what she did, of course, she understood exactly what was going on. This was mafia. So she was scared out of her pants, and she did the only thing she could do. She called the feds. And when she called the feds, they came to her and they bugged her office. They bugged her phone. So when they bugged her phone, they also bugged the phone system. And there's a network that calls into that phone or your computer. There's a network of people who are connected to you. So they start tapping everyone. And then boom, they start. And then when she started getting those phone calls from old boy, they heard it. They found out where that was going to, and it led right to Blagojevich's office. That's how Blagojevich got found out. That's how he got in trouble. And that's why he never became a senator. Just some information for you guys. It's a lot deeper than what you think. Now, when that blew up, they thought Obama had something to do with it, but it turns out he had nothing to do with it because he had already been running for president. He's like, I had nothing to do with this. I didn't even know what was going on. So, anyways, it's your boy Tone 202. Thank you guys for stopping by. And please, when it comes to the police, just comply and take it to court later. God loves you, so do I. Bye.